The Metaverse?
It's in the Metaverse.
Metaverse.
Metaverse. Metaverse.
The Metaverse.
The Metaverse.
Metaverse.
The Metaverse.
The Metaverse.
The Metaverse.
Have you heard of the Metaverse?
As you may have come to realize in the last couple of months, everyone is now a Metaverse expert, or is at least talking about it in some capacity. The number of articles that have appeared after Facebook, now Meta's annual Connect, is nothing short of astounding, which is generally okay to some extent, as all this free publicity only helps to further disseminate knowledge of what the Metaverse is into the mainstream. However, the issue of having a bunch of self-proclaimed experts telling people what the Metaverse is means that a lot of the aforementioned knowledge is actually miscommunication and misunderstanding about what the Metaverse actually is. I know that might sound kind of hypocritical coming from me, because who am I? However, I was in this space before Meta became Meta and started this whole Metaverse mania, so do with that what you will. I am by no means an expert, far from it, but I do know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. And so, without further ado, here are some lies about the Metaverse that people actually believe. The movie Ready Player One and its vision for the Metaverse is basically VR lore, the Bible of VR if you will. The Oasis is what everyone wants and is exactly what we should be striving to achieve, right? Yes and no. While the Oasis looks cool and showcases some fantastic ideas about what a future Metaverse could look and function like, there lies something rather important at its core that we should strive to avoid. The biggest problem lies with the fact that one company, Gregarious Simulation Systems or GSS, controls the entirety of the Oasis with virtually no input from the people who live, work, and play there. That is the biggest red flag if there ever was one. There's a word for such a society. It's called a dictatorship. Monopolies and dictatorships alike are not good, never have been. A good look at history shows that nothing good has ever come from that. Even modern day versions show the dangers they bring. Hyper-realistic customizable avatars? Sure. Sensory feedback that mirrors or even heightens physical world senses? Why not? But complete control over your entire reality with no input from those who live, work, and play instead of reality? No thanks. So long as Player One in Ready Player One is all of us, then I'm game. If you ask someone today what the Metaverse is, they'll likely say that it's a virtual world or virtual universe. And while that's not entirely false, it leads one to believe that the Metaverse is basically just virtual reality, as most people similarly liken virtual reality to a virtual world or virtual universe. However, VR is just one portion of the Metaverse, one layer of immersion or dimension if you will. The other dimensions are augmented reality and mixed reality. As VR has developed so much more than these two, they are often left out of the conversation, but they are integral pillars of the Metaverse just as much as VR is. In the ideal Metaverse, one device will be able to toggle between the different dimensions, exposing you to different levels of immersion, and the virtual objects you have or those around you will adjust for each dimension while still being able to interact with the other dimensions. This is similar to what is often shown in Meta's or Microsoft's PR reveals for what the Metaverse might look like. They often show people in different dimensions interacting with each other. AR talking to AR, AR talking to VR, VR talking to AR, MR talking to AR, and so on and so forth. However, AR, VR, and MR aren't the entirety of the Metaverse. They're just how you experience it. Think of them as the windows and wheels of the car. The infrastructure operating behind the scenes, allowing for goods to be bought, shared, and owned, and that will facilitate the interoperability of the various sectors in the Metaverse, is the blockchain. Think of this as the engine and the frame of the car. Together, these four technologies will power the Metaverse. Now, I understand why some people may be led to believe that there are going to be multiple Metaverses. There have been a lot of keynotes thus far by companies saying how they're creating their own or how their version is going to look like this or that, namely Meta and Microsoft so far. However, that just isn't the case. There's only going to be one Metaverse. Just as there is one internet, there's only going to be one Metaverse. There's going to be a lot of locations, destinations, worlds, and experiences within the Metaverse, but there is only ever going to be just the one. And really, that's what you want. The metaverse that Meta, Roblox, Epic, and Microsoft are all talking about are just singular locations, dimensions, located somewhere within the larger metaverse. Like the internet, it will be a mixture of open and walled gardens. However, most will likely be isolated walled gardens with the base level interoperability needed to function in the greater ecosystem. Though I'd be happy to be proven wrong. For while walled gardens like the Apple ecosystem are nice, you can't help but feel trapped within them. And that's the opposite of what we want our metaverse to be. So when Apple eventually comes along and creates its own sector of the metaverse, if you will, that's all it's ever going to be. Just a small sector of a much bigger, more vibrant, decentralized, expansive metaverse, which sounds pretty nice to me. Now, I'll give credit where credit is due, and credit is due for the contributions that Facebook or Meta have done for VR. Without question, VR has progressed rapidly to where it is today, in large part due to the work and money that Meta has invested into the space. However, that does not mean they alone should get to decide the future or own the entirety of the metaverse. Facebook changing their name to Meta, while kind of egotistical, was primarily done to simply align itself with the idea of the metaverse. They want their brand, their company, to become synonymous with the metaverse. So when you think of the metaverse, you think of Meta. And when you think of Meta, you think of the metaverse. It's a brilliant PR strategy, but that's all it is. Now, while Meta will not own the metaverse, if I'm being honest, as of the time of this recording in February 2022, Meta does indeed own the metaverse, if only because no truly worthwhile competitor is here yet. Microsoft has teased their version for Mesh, but hasn't done anything concrete yet, at least publicly. Beyond building their respective games and acquiring smaller companies, the same can be said for Epic Games and Roblox. While HTC and PlayStation VR are here and receiving updates, there's a stark difference between the effort that they and Meta are putting into the space. The elusive dark horse of Apple has yet to arrive, and while there's a lot to expect from them, it must be said that not everything Apple touches turns to gold, and even with that ignored, $2,000 is a tough pill to swallow. Overseas, while China's VR industry is growing and there's a worthy competitor to the Quest and the Pico Neo 3, it still doesn't hold a candle to the Western VR industry, which is currently being led with an iron grip by Meta. The most used headsets on Steam VR are Meta's. Meta has employed more people to build the metaverse than anyone else. Meta has dumped more money into building the metaverse than anyone else. As a result, they are so far ahead of everyone else that it seems like they own the space, and they do, for now. While their stranglehold on the industry will naturally wane as more competitors enter the space, it's up to us to ensure that it does. We have to rally behind and support any and all who would dare step onto the field of battle to challenge Meta's supremacy. We should even consider stepping onto the battlefield ourselves. As history has shown, monopolies and other vast consolidations of power aren't good for anyone. In many ways, Meta already is one, or at least fast approaching becoming one, with its incredible amount of power and influence. And it must be said, they don't have the best track record of wielding that power. So yes, Meta will not own the metaverse. That is, so long as we are willing to do what it takes to prevent it. Are we willing? I know we are. Move out.